All right, we're live. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 50K webinar blueprint. My name is Rich Wilens. Thank you very much for taking your time out, a very special time for me and for you and for our guest today. This is the 50K webinar blueprint, and everybody who we have on our program basically makes $50,000 plus on one webinar. That's right. And today we're going to be talking with my friend and somebody who I also just did a webinar with that did over 50,000. Please welcome to the program today, Karl Schuckart. Karl, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you know, and I'm glad to have you here too. This is going to be a great opportunity for everybody who's not only reading this book, but who's also interested in webinars and how lucrative it is for you to do a webinar. And I know the webinar we just did recently was very lucrative. In fact, today, thank you very much, because I received another little bonus check in the mail for about, well, I can't really say what it is, but it was a bonus, so it was very good. So I want to thank you very much for that. So tell me about it, Karl. How did you get involved in webinars, and what do you do in your webinar that makes you so successful?
Well, I mean, it really came down to training and being fully immersed and focused to be sort of like an actor in a sense. And I learned at a kind of a young age. I mean, I know that I've been a sales trainer for a long time. I actually was in the insurance industry. Before that, I was a door knocker, knocking on doors, selling security systems. And at a young age, I knew that I wanted to be in sales, and I was good at sales as a kid, selling candy bars at school, selling, I actually had arcade games. I had my own arcade business when I was 14 years old. Me and my grandma were partners. She was like one of the best salespeople I've ever met. And my grandpa was one of the most wealthiest guys in Texas at one point in his life. And between the both of them, they had a lot of influence for me as a kid. And I literally had seen like my grandpa go from dead broke to multimillionaire to dead broke again to multimillionaire. So I've seen that could also be a vicious cycle in there. So I've learned by other people's experiences at a young age. Fast forward a little bit forward. Once I got into the insurance industry, I really started to focus on like who are the people, who are the leaders that are teaching people how to sell. People like Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, you know, the greats out there, Sandler. And I just started reading their books. I'm big at reading books, and I know, like Rich, I know you just wrote a book that is phenomenal. That's going to help people with doing webinars. And I also know a little bit about your background, being into sales and being a sales trainer as well. So I know you could cope with that. But it really just comes down to training and being prepared. And what really actually helped me fast forward even further, I became a regional director for a very large insurance company and was a sales trainer on a national basis. And it all became because of processes. It became not just from books that I read, but also from mentorship that I got, and also some training that I got that helped me overcome the fears of public speaking, helped me overcome, I already understood the sales process. And then I had to understand that, like, look, selling to masses is a different ball game. Selling to a group of people is a different ball game than selling to an individual person, but the same concepts, the same principles worked. So like using tie down questions, like, does that make sense? Is that fair? Pretty neat, huh? Like having tie down and loaded questions that get people to say yes. That's kind of where that came from. And then also just following people that were really good at presentations. I literally would just go and listen to presentations, not even to buy anything. I would just go there to take my notepad and listen to, like, how are they doing sales? How are they getting the crowd involved? You know, and then also how involved does the crowd seem to be? And so I'd really pay attention to the actual psychology of sales and what's actually going on through the process. And then I'd also pay attention to myself. Like, do I feel giddy? Do I feel excited? Am I ready to buy? And so I would actually really, I would just pay attention to a lot of that stuff. And so it came back, you know, like I said, to go back to the question, it really came back as a kid, kind of getting ready, getting myself ready, is knowing that I wanted to be in sales, and then having good mentors, reading good books. There's a book out there called Question-Based Sales. I don't have the author's name. I was actually looking for it, but that's a highly recommended book because it actually teaches you how to find the question that your audience is looking for to buy that product. Like, what's the biggest question that they have? And then how do you formulate that into a presentation? And so that's part of it, you know.
Right. You know, and it's funny that you mentioned that because you mentioned the greats. You know, I started to work for Tom Hopkins back in 1976 in Scottsdale,
Wow.
Arizona, where I actually cut my teeth. Well, I didn't really cut my teeth, but I actually became the sales closer that I am today. And you talk about books, you know, the one that I happen to have right here
Yeah.
is by a guy. Now, you see this guy right here, Grant Cardone.
Yep.
A little story about Grant Cardone. When I was doing sales training for the automobile field back in the 80s, Grant actually attended one of my works. He attended twice one of my workshops. And one time I even gave him a ride to the airport. And, you know, he said he's going to be this big sales trainer. And, you know, he appreciated me, appreciated Jackie B. Cooper, and he appreciated the people, the greats that you were talking about, Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, Joe Girard for the automobile business. All of these people were closers. And, you know, even though this book is the closer's guide, it's very important for you to not only learn those tie-down questions, but to ask the questions. And what it really comes down to is eliminating all the objections. And once you eliminate all the objections, you have to ask for the sale. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. And it's funny that you mentioned the arcade game. You must have liked counting a lot of quarters, because I remember playing Pong for hours. And I remember taking these quarters and putting them into the machine. And my favorite, well, I can't even remember what my favorite was, but it wasn't Mario Brothers, but it was back in the day.
Asteroids.
It was Asteroids. You are absolutely correct. So Asteroids was one of my tap, 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 and a little spaceship would come by. So that was pretty awesome. So you went from the insurance business all the way to, well, the internet marketing business. Tell me, Karl, how did you get started in internet marketing?
Yeah. So being in the insurance industry, there was some ups and downs. I was like I said, I was a regional director for a large Platinum 400 company, and I was happy there, but I was working like, I want to say 80 to 100 hours a week. My day started at like 6 a.m. and didn't end till like 1 p.m. at night every single day. And even weekends, I was with my employees, not employees, but the people that I was mentoring to become great at sales constantly. And so it was great. Don't get me wrong. The experiences were great. The leadership was amazing with the company I was with. So I had something really great that I was with, but something happened in the corporate structure that I didn't that I didn't really agree with. And so I had to make a change. And so I actually left the company. Me and my now wife, Ikumi, we moved down to San Diego, and we didn't know what we were doing, but we just wanted to move to San Diego. We wanted to get out of Vegas, which is where we were running our company. And so we went down there, and we like literally crashed, like, you know, the stock market crashed, the, you know, Black Monday and all that stuff. That's what it felt like to me in my life at that point. And it was actually late 2007. So 2008 was like the year that everything crashed anyway. So I was definitely affected by that. And I was just, you know, kind of burned out on insurance, kind of sick of talking about death all the time because I was selling life insurance. And you can only talk about that so much and help people with it. It's a very emotional thing, but it's a very intangible thing too. So you have to be good at selling something that's intangible. But basically, fell on my face. We were living in like a 800 square foot apartment. We were basically going to like the food bank, and we were basically begging. I was calling my grandpa with money and borrowing money from him all the time. And it was just a really bad place in my life. But what happened from it was I because of the skills that I had from the insurance company, I said, you know what? I'm just going to start my own insurance brokerage. And I was listening to a lot of the online guys like Mike Filsame. I was following Russell Brunson and a few others like Mike Koenigs and stuff like that. And I was really listening to them, and I was really trying to be a part of them. I know like who else was down in San Diego. There was also there's another guy, I forgot his name, but basically following these guys for all my life, figuring out how they're doing it, listening to the guys that are doing marketing, not just doing sales, and basically just reformulated a presentation, went online, was one of the first brokers online to sell contracts to independent agents. And because of that, Google actually gave our company a very high remarks. So I had no problem with recruiting people. And I still own the company. I still actually own an insurance brokerage company that does 7 figures a year. So I actually built a company that was able to afford me to look for something else because I was completely bored with that industry. I honestly was very bored with the insurance industry. It's a boring topic. It really is, but lucrative. So I still have it, but what I did is I automated everything I possibly could because of the stuff I've learned from internet marketing. And about 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago now, I went to an event that Russell Brunson was having, and I had one meeting with him, and that meeting changed the course of my life at that point, because I knew that I wanted to jump into something else. I knew that I wanted to jump into the internet marketing world. And I asked him one question. I said, hey, how do I get into this industry? This is my background. It's offline. My background's completely offline. I've taken it and I've automated it somewhat online, and the rest of it's offline selling. And so Russell goes, well, that's what you're good at, right? And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm good at. He goes, well, why don't you just do something about that? Like, I don't know, like teach people how to sell insurance and on a bigger level. And then the light bulb hit. So right at that point, I jammed home. I'm like, I'm bored. I hate this stuff. I hate to say that, but I really was just bored with the industry. But I had so much knowledge. I had so much I could give to people that were new in that industry and trying to get into it. And so what I did is I created a site called finalexpenseprogram.com. Right. And it's a full training site that teaches people. I took my presentation. I've got tons of video training on there. And I did everything completely white hat. Built a podcast, built a what do you call it, a YouTube channel, did a Udemy course, like a free course, did a whole free thing, took all the same funnel ideas, created a funnel, didn't spend a dime on advertising. It's all white hat. And basically that was my exit. So 4.5 years ago, that was my exit. That's when I had my light bulb. That's when I decided that the internet marketing industry is where I belong. And then I went to a JV Zoo event shortly after that. And so the game was over once I went to a JV Zoo event. I met everybody, met you there, Rich. You were one of the first people I met, actually.
Well, I was at I think I was at the registration table when you walked up, and I said, how do you spell your name?
Yep, you were.
Yeah, and which one was that? Was that when we had Coolio there?
No, San Diego.
Oh, well, okay. We had the Thugs. Yeah, we had not Vanilla Ice, but Flavor Flav and Rob Bass. And so anyway, that's awesome, you know, and I'm glad you showed up. In fact, I think I remembered you showed up as part of Chris Records' posse. Is that correct?
No. So the backstory on that's my mentor. So I've had millionaire mentors, and Chris Record is the latest millionaire mentor that I've had. Chris showed up with his posse. He was like untouchable. Like when I went there, I didn't know anybody. You know, I knew a few people. I met like Jay Cruz. Him and I are really good friends, and I hung out with everybody. I hung out with Mike Philsame when I was there. I hung out and met my like the people I was looking up to, like Ben Atkins and stuff like that. Really looked up to all these guys, watching them, and it was just, you know, I'm not a starstruck type of person, but it was great for me to finally say like, wow, you're a human. I'm a human. We're real people. And at that, it was a very pivotal time for me, and I did everything I could to possibly network with these people and keep in touch with them. So I did not meet Chris there. I did see Chris there. I did introduce myself to him, but he was flying through everywhere he went. Like he was kind of like hard to go and talk to. What happened though with Chris was, and this is like my way of hacking mentorship from people that you look up to, is make a list of all the people you look up to, and then geographically look at where do they live and how close are they in proximity from where you live, and then do multiple ways to get in touch with them. So with Chris, I actually I contacted him on Facebook because he's a Facebook guy, so that wasn't hard. He actually responded from Facebook and said, "Hey, what's up?" And I said, "Hey, Chris, I noticed you don't live, or you live close to me. You're within an hour or two away from where I live. I've seen that you're close by. I really look up to you. I really respect you, and I just want to give you a shout out." And he was like, "Oh man, thanks. That's really cool. Blah blah blah." So I said, "You know what? I've got these skills. I've spent the last 3.5 years at that point learning SEO, learning Facebook traffic, learning how to build websites, how to build funnels. I was learning all those skills. I knew that I needed to have those skills in order for me to get into this industry. And so I came in with skills. So I would say you have to have skills before you do this. Right. But I told him, I was like, "Hey, I'd love to work with you. If there's anything I can do, I would love to just come in and be a fly on the wall or learn from you and befriend you." And Chris goes, "Huh, interesting." So then he started qualifying me. Right. He's like, what do you have? What are your skills? What can you do? What can you bring to the table? And I threw up on the table everything I could do. And then he said, "You know what? Come into the office tomorrow or the next day. It was quick. Things happened quick. So come in the next day and let's just see what happens. I can't guarantee anything, but let's just see what happens. So I was like, okay, cool. I went there and we became great friends. We became great friends.
Yeah, he's a good guy, you know. My girlfriend, she says, I don't know why I'm vibrating. She says he's a genuine kind of guy. So,
yeah, he is. I mean, he really, you know, he's a very open person. It's sometimes hard to get a hold of him for people because he literally has, like, I've seen it. He has hundreds and hundreds of people pounding his door. I'm just one that happened to got through. Right. And then once I got through, our friendship kind of grew from there. And so I had skills. It's what I said, that, you know, you have to have some skill sets. You can't be a complete newbie and knock on an internet marketer's door and say, I'm willing to do anything to work for you to get those opportunities. And literally for a year, I worked pretty hard for Chris, being unknown. Really, anybody didn't know who I was, but I worked my ass off to help him grow his business, right. You know, and definitely would feel like I was definitely a part of it. So it's, you know, it's a cool thing. It's a cool feeling to know. And
you know, I remember when I first met you at the Chris Record event in LA.
It was in Vegas.
Oh yeah, that's right. And you know what? And I remember you were running, you were doing something. I remember sitting at the table chatting with you, and I knew right then and there that you were a guy that really had his act together. So tell me, let's talk about this. What made you decide to do webinars? Because you and I did a very successful webinar just a few weeks ago. Did it just come to you in a light bulb to say, hey, webinars, that's the thing?
Well, I'm really big on pre-planning stuff and trying to, actually going to a whiteboard, writing out. So like when we did our webinar, we'd just gotten done doing Chase Bauer's product, which was the Shopify app. And Chase built an app that he was actually in Chris Records' 7-figure Traffic Academy mastermind. And he started polling people in the room about a product, and he actually built a product based off of everybody's needs that were in drop shipping, that were using Shopify. And he was using it. My wife was dabbling in it. And so I seen the product. He built a beta version of it, and he invited everybody to use it. So I saw the product, and I was like, this is a product that I've got to get behind. I was already helping Chris Record do launches as a JV broker. I was already helping him with I helped him do Smart Member 1.0 and 2.0. I helped him with speed blogging extension that he did. So I was already helping him. I already kind of was getting to know the industry. I was cutting my teeth, right? And so basically at that point, I saw Chase's product. I knew that I wanted to get on board. And so I contacted Chase and I said to Chase, love the product. You want some help launching it? I think I could do a good job for you. So basically I knew that I had to believe in the product before I'm going to be like a JV broker. And so Chase was like, sure, come on board. Let's see what we can do. So with Chase, and what I was able to do because of my background was help him build a phenomenal funnel. In fact, I remember you contacting me going, what the heck are you selling? The funnel's closing at like 60%. And it even got higher than that because of the way we designed it. And it's actually really cool the way we designed it. We actually have a whole case study that we put together for it. Haven't really released it yet, but will soon. And so basically it's based off, for me, it's based off how well a product performs. So at the launch, it's like a really good deal for people to get in. That's why I love JVZoo, by the way, is because it gives small businesses the opportunity to buy products before they actually go mainstream, because there's a lot of products that actually go and have the potential to go mainstream. So that product was a product to me that I felt like could actually go mainstream. So basically took that product and basically leveraged it. And when I saw that the conversions were so good, I was like, this would be a perfect webinar product. I knew right away that we could actually sell this on webinars. I already was helping Chris with some webinars, like him and Andrew Graham would set a lot of webinars. I'd go on and see how they would sell their products, and they would sell. I mean, I think they had a webinar that did like $350,000. So they had some of the highest converting products or highest converting webinars that I'd seen. And because of some of that mentorship that I got from Chris, I was ready. I mean, I was pretty much just ready to do a webinar. And so when we talked, I was like, hey, we have a webinar if you want to do it. And you're like, yeah, let's do it, but you better perform. And I was like, yeah, no, we'll perform.
I remember telling you that because, you know, my butt was on the line too. I was recommending you. Well, let's just jump right into this. Okay.
All right.
You start preparing for a webinar, what is the first thing that you do? And let's go through it step by step, because this is very important. Even before the emails, the preparation, what is it that you do to prepare and prepare to have a very successful webinar? We're talking a 50K plus webinar.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, knowing my butt and your butt was on the line, I had to perform. And not only that, but, you know, anything like when I did in the insurance industry, I was used to speaking in crowds. I actually had to speak to people every single day. So my fear of like speaking in a group setting it's not that much. I mean, we all do get butterflies no matter what, but like they say in show business, the show must go on, right? So you have to be ready. You have to be like ready, camera, action, lights, go. You know, you have to be ready. You have to prepare yourself. If you're not prepared, you're going to be a babbling banshee, you know, that doesn't know what the heck they're talking about. So what I do is I actually have a little way, a formula that I come together, because this is something I've written my presentations and scripts with my, you know, in the insurance industry. But the webinars are a little bit different. Like I said, it's kind of like a comedian going to a live audience. They have to read the audience. They have to kind of know what the audience is doing. So the first thing I do, and this is like NLP training, is I try to pre-frame. I want to pre-frame as best I can the people that are on the call. Like I know, Rich, you did a little bit of that for us when we were live on the call. But other webinars that I've done, I'm usually the guy that opens up the call. I'm the excited guy. I'm the more hypey kind of person. I'm getting people aroused. I'm getting people that are, my goal is to know the audience. So like when we did JB Zoos, I knew that going into it, that most of the people weren't going to be ecom people. I realized that most of the people are going to be digital marketers, or people that are following or doing digital marketers, or they're going to be complete newbies that are just trying to figure out their way. So I knew that going in. So knowing that going in, it kind of helps you with your audience. So once I knew that, then I could write a presentation out. Then I could actually put a presentation together that would actually help sell people, help educate people to make a buying decision. Because that's really my way, is actually educating, giving people the right information they need to make an educated decision, and then get those questions. So I would start the presentation out like, hey guys, this is Karl Schuckart, very excited, right? So I'm very excited. This is Karl Schuckart. I'm here with my guest, or I'm here with my partner, so-and-so. And we've got something big for you guys, something exciting for you. We've got something that you're going to absolutely love. In fact, the last people that we've talked to, like I would just do all these pre-framing, getting people excited. Then I would start saying, okay, guys, one thing that or before that, I would do something where let's do some house cleaning. Let's get people in the right state of mind to listen, because I want them to open up their minds. I want them to open up their ears, and I want them to open up what they're thinking about in order for them to listen and digest what we have to say. And something that I learned from Chris was serve first, sell second. So always serve value first before you sell somebody something. And also from Mike Filsaime and Andy Jenkins, they had a thing that they said, the 3 T's: teach, transcend, transact. So you teach them first, you transcend them, and then you transact. So everything that I do is based off of that, along with tie down questions, along with participation. So, hey guys, give me a 1, give me a yes. Are you excited? Guys, are you excited to learn about what this is about? Are you guys excited? Are you getting that? Isn't that pretty cool? Isn't that neat? Can you imagine, like, then to start using words like, can you imagine what it would be like when you start your store? Can you imagine what it's going to be like after you get this information and you start applying it, and these principles that have been proven for years, they start coming back to you, stuff like that. So I do that up front. I do a lot of pitching and getting everybody excited about it. And then I do some things like drop in like, hey guys, if you stay to the end, we've got a free gift for you. It's $100 value. In fact, let me give you just a peek of it. Sometimes I'll pique their interest about it, because I want to have them stay throughout the whole presentation. And then I tell them, hey guys, look, at the end, I do this thing where I think Sandler teaches this, and it's where I ask for permission to sell them something. Right. That is huge. If whoever's watching this, this is big. This has helped my webinars convert at a mass value, because once you've gotten permission from people, then their guards have dropped down. Right. So I tell them up front, guys, I'm not here to get you something that you don't need or want or anything like that. So I drop those guards down, and then I get permission like, hey, after we give you this information, after we teach you and we give you some information and you're educated about this industry, is it fair that I actually have an offer for you at the end? And if it's, as long as it's a high value low cost, low entry point, low barrier point for you to get into and jump into with no risk. Is that fair that I actually that I do that for you? And then everybody, I've never gotten a no from that. I haven't done a lot of webinars either, but I've never gotten a no. I'm even surprised every time I do it, because I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And I like getting people into the yes mode,
Exactly. And let's do a little bit of a recap of what you just talked about. You talked about not only entertaining the clients or the attendees who have shown up, but you're getting them ready. You're getting them excited, because nothing creates more of a sales or a buying atmosphere than getting people excited about what it is that you're going to do. And it also, because I know this from hosting a lot of webinars, it's like the front guy before Johnny Carson came out. Oh my God, did I just say Johnny Carson? Before Jay Leno or before any of those guys come out, you always have the warm-up guys. So exactly what you were talking about. If you're going to host a webinar, you got to make sure that the excitement is there, that you're creating the excitement, that you're getting the people ready to know that not only are they getting what you talked about, what Andy Jenkins and Mike Filsaime said, and what Chris preaches, is that you're getting ready to deliver a value. You see, some webinars that I've been on, they don't deliver a value. They don't deliver anything but 33 minutes worth of about me, 10 minutes worth of content, and you want to buy this now. What you said is very important, and that's why I wanted to recap it, that you got people excited. Most importantly, you got people to participate by hitting 1 or hitting yes. Very important to get that participation early, because once they start participating, they start doing the things that you tell them to do. And then, to recap again, Karl, that you asked them for permission. At the end of this, we have a sponsor, there's going to be an offer. And if you really think that we've delivered on our promise, that we over-delivered on value, that you're going to have an opportunity to get this wonderful product. Do you all agree and give me the permission for me to go ahead? Will you stick around to the end? And then to recap again, you said I'm going to give them a little bit of something. So you entice them in order to stick around to the end of the webinar. Did I do a fair job in recapping what it is that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my goal is, regardless if they buy or not, is to provide them a ton of value, that they get something out of the call. And so that way they want to stick to it. They want to stick on the call. And usually the free gift is actually a very cool thing for people to have. Like for the Shopify app, we gave away a Chrome extension that, people loved it. People loved it.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Chris Record, I'm going through Chris Record's program right now, and I'm a big fan of Chris. He was talking about a Chrome extension today, and my girlfriend Marie says, well, what is a Chrome extension? And I felt I should know that, and I didn't. So she Googled it, and then the next thing you know, it's an extension that does some cool things. So it's very important that you give away that cool thing. Like, I know somebody who gave away one of those little mini boom boxes. So, you're absolutely right. So we've just gone ahead and we've got things prepared. Karl, how did you know? How do you know that this was going to be a 50K webinar?
Actually, going into it, I didn't know. I would say I wasn't sure that how big we were going to do. I knew that there would be a good amount of people that would join the audience, especially with JVZoo. I would imagine they have a pretty big list. So we had like 460 people, I think, on the call live.
Yes, right. Live.
So, yeah, that's kind of an indication. I know that there's standard wording or verbiage that they use in the industry, like how many dollars per head do you average? And if you can average anything over 50, I think you're doing good. But I was excited when we did yours. I knew that the offer was going to convert no matter what. The product sells itself. Of course, having a guy like me that can pitch is helpful, and it's going to do a good job. But even if you had a boring guy show the product, it probably still would have converted. It definitely wouldn't have converted at 50,000. It probably would have been like 25,000. But the product itself, so you have to have a good product. You have to have a sellable product. And after the success of the launch, the actual closing percentages, I didn't look at necessarily all the volume of traffic that came in. I looked at what were the closing percentages of the product. And we had just a fantastic plan. The plan of how we launched it worked out so well. It brought people back into the funnel constantly the way we did it. And so knowing that we had such high conversion rates, I knew that we had a great product to do webinars with. In fact, we still do it.
Well, let's talk about a percentage. What is the percentage? Now, back in the old days, well, back in the old days. This is actually current now. If you're a baseball player and you're hitting 300, you're considered a superstar. So that tells me, if you break it down to the power of 10, so to speak, 3 out of 10, and you're a superstar in baseball, that means if you close 3 or 30% of your attendees, so you got to figure, if you scale it up, you have 100 attendees, you're going to close 30 people. 30 people at an average gross would be so many dollars. So analytics are very important. But I wanted to ask you specifically about that webinar. Do you happen to know the total, what you made just from the live event and from the replay?
Well, I know we didn't run a replay, and just the live event did $58,000 in sales.
Oh yeah, and you want to know why we didn't run a replay? I think because it was either me, and I probably shouldn't admit this, but I think I didn't do the replay, or something happened, or there was a glitch. But with that being said, $58,000 is a lot of money. When you usually do a webinar and a replay runs, what is your typical return on the replay?
Yeah, the replay is anywhere from double to triple the number that we do on the call. Because a lot of times today it's a little bit harder to get 100 to 500 people on a call live, unless you have a monster list, you have a monster following.
Right.
And a lot of people, they just simply can't make the time that you're doing a live call. And typically in the game, a lot of people are going to do a first webinar and like a second webinar. And first webinar is usually a little bit soft, more educating, and not necessarily pitching so much. And then the second webinar is more of a recap, and then kind of closing, a little bit harder closing on the end of it, because it's like the last chance to get people to get out of their seat and make a decision if they're going to buy or not.
You know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just saying that there's replays that are going on for the first one, and there's replays that go on for the second one. And usually after the first one, you're going to have anywhere from double to triple the sales that you have, because you're going to have so many more people are going to be able to watch that replay.
Now, one of the techniques that I try to teach, or I want to share with people, is that not only do you do a live call, but you could also do a live encore. Sometimes you do it at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then your encore is going to be at 12 noon the next day. Then from there, you can do a replay, and then of course, you mail out for the replay. And there, like you said, you can double, triple, even quadruple. So your 50,000 turns into 150 or 200,000. Let me ask your opinion. When you're doing your own mailing, when you're doing your own list, let's say I come to you with a webinar and I want you to mail your list, your customers. How many emails do you send out? Do you have a sequence of emails or a plan that you do in order to put people on the call live?
Yeah, so there's two different ways that usually works. It depends on who the vendor is. Some of the vendors don't want to send traffic to my landing page. Like I might have a landing page for the webinar where we control everything. We get the leads. They go into a landing page that is proven to be high converting with jargon and stuff that's going to kind of get them ready that there's going to be a free gift. Then there's a video after that. Then there's about 5 emails until the day of the webinar. And then that day there's usually 2 or 3 reminding them about what time it's going to be. And then also too, we use like SMS Messenger and stuff like that too. So it just helps with getting more people onto that live call. That's one way. The other way is letting the vendor just load up their own webinar and figuring out how they're going to get people on. So it's,
well, for those of you who are listening, one of the reasons why the vendors don't like to have other people hold the call or use their own platform is because it's their list, and the registration usually will far more exceed than the attendees. For example, with the JV Zoo list, and one of the reasons why we hold our own, we could get anywhere between 1,500 and 2,200 registrations, and 500 or 600 people will show up. Well, if we let somebody else go ahead and do their own go-to or their own registration, that means you're going to get 2,200 people on your list. And how valuable is the list? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you take someone like Chris Record, who has indoctrinated his list so well to who he is. It makes more sense too for him to actually host us on his webinar versus us trying to have him send leads to our landing page, and then us getting a bunch of leads. Obviously, there's a lot of leads, but also there's also a point where some people like setting up back-end webinars for people. Like in JVZoo, you can have an auto register form already built into the buyers. So they're automatically registered into getting on the webinar. But there's a lot of people in the launching industry that we've found that they're not good at webinars for whatever reason. It's not their thing. They don't even like to be on camera. But they're good at launching products. They're good at building software. They have a guy that's usually doing the VSL, video sales letters, or they have a guy that's doing the pitching. There's a lot of guys that do that, and they're just not good on webinars. So if they host a webinar at the end, they're like, hey, this is so-and-so, and I've got so-and-so here. And then it's up to us to like bring it in, bring in the game. So it's interesting. So that's why sometimes it's good for us to have something on our end that's allowing us to go, hey, look, I know it's, obviously you're going to give us some of your leads by doing this, but we're doing a better job than you probably could. So we're going to have higher attendee rates. We're going to have higher opt-in rates that you're going to get. And then we're going to have higher sales, which is ultimately going to make you more money. So it's definitely depends. It just depends. Like JV Zoo, obviously it makes sense for them to host their own webinars. When you're Chris Record, it makes more sense for you to host your own webinars.
Exactly. Now, when we're talking about hosting a webinar, you mentioned earlier that you're a JV broker, and then you mentioned, is it Chris Bowers? Is that his first name?
Chase Bowers.
What is it?
Chase
right,
Bowers.
Chase, that's right. So do you also host other people's webinars? And when you do host other people's webinars, do you structure it for them and tell them or show them what it is that you want that knows what's going to convert? And do they actually listen to you, and do they do it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty new. So, but for Chase, I pretty much put the presentation together. He's good. He cleaned it up a little bit. But basically I'm a man of many talents. So I can build sales letters. I can build presentations. I can build funnels for launches. I can look at a product and break the product down and say, this needs to be in the front end. This is how this needs to be built. This is what OTO1, OTO2, OTO3 needs to look like. Here's what the downsells need to look like. Here's what our back ends need to look like. And so as a JV broker, I have those talents. I have those skills. And so basically, because of that, I can help. But it just depends. I mean, I'm just kind of I'm still pretty new in this world, and I'm just forging my way in. And but I'm coming in with skills. So it's
well, you know what? I happen to know a program. If you need a little bit of help with those skills, maybe we could work something out.
Sure.
So I'm really excited that to have you on here, because it's also you're a little bit different. You're new to this. When you do your own webinars, do you spend any money? Do you do any Facebook ads or any SEO, or do you run Google ads? What do you do other than rely on somebody's mailing list in order to build the attendance at your webinar?
Yeah, so I mean, if I'm doing someone else's webinar without my list or anything like that, we'll do a retargeting campaign. So we'll basically put a pixel. If we're running the webinar, we're running the landing page and everything.
Right.
We'll actually do a retargeting campaign with our free product. Like, hey, join the webinar, you get a free product. We have a video that we've already made, or we've got carousel ads that we've already made, stuff like that. So it'll actually drive people back into, if they haven't, we put a conversion pixel on the thank you page. And then we have a pixel on the first page that's retargeting them on Facebook. So we're following them around on Facebook. As far as retargeting goes, not as far as an ad goes, but we are going to probably start dabbling more. I mean, I know a lot about Facebook ads, so we're going to start dabbling more on lookalike audiences.
Right.
So anybody that has, my friend David Schloff, I don't know if you know David, but
you know what? I do know David. As a matter of fact, I'm just coming out. Well, coming out with my product.
Coming out.
Clear that. Yeah, I'm coming out with my product. Very happy with Marie, by the way.
Hey man, she's doing a good job with you.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. Look how thin I got. I told her I'd lose weight for her. So anyway, her and I we're working internet marketing together. She's very smart. In fact, she's smarter than I am, and she's really jumping into the Chris Records, all of his stuff, and basically, I recommended Chris because like you said, some people, when you build a rapport, and I have easy access, not that easy because he's a busy guy, but to Chris. And because he's such a genuine guy, and he's a very good teacher, you have to pick that one mentor. And like you said, you were living in Tahoe. He was living in Sacramento at the time, Roseville. So it was close enough for you to make that commute. But there are people where you have to rely on getting a hold of somebody, doing a private message on Facebook or the telephone, or they're on the road. And it's awesome to have a mentor to build something like this. So are you still working with Chris now, or are you just actually on your own?
Yeah, I'm pretty much independent now. He's building a, you've probably seen the buzz, but he's building an amazing platform, I would say, like a physical platform school where people can learn these skills and get certified and stuff. So I am actually building a marketing division for him with that. Okay. So in a sense, I'm kind of working with him, but I'm more independent. I work with people that are launching products. I have a lot of rules for me to help work with someone to launch a product with them that is not always fit. And, I'm still learning too. I'm learning the brokerage, and it's kind of my way to get into the industry. But I also have software, and I have stuff that I've built in the past. And I also have my own products that I'll be launching in the future. So it's just kind of like the steps, or the course of steps that has worked really well for me. Everybody's going to be different. So I've seen people come out of nowhere and literally blow up in this industry, but no one ever sees that back end. No one ever actually sees all the work that they put into, even like Chris. I mean, I know him and know his background. I've seen why he is who he is because of his upbringing and because of some of the failures he's had, and also some of the successes he's gained. I mean, he was really big in another industry before he got into internet marketing, and now he's kind of like hybriding the two together. So it just depends on what way you see yourself getting into this industry. If you learn from if you learn from someone that's been in the industry for a long time and has seen so many people come and go, rise and fall, and so many stay and build amazing platforms, amazing businesses, sustainable businesses, become 8-figure earners in this industry, because the opportunity is there. The opportunity is great. It's continuing to get better, and it's also continuing to get more competitive too, though. So with that, you got to take a little bit with a grain of salt. But with your platform, you're taking all the knowledge and everything you've learned and all the webinars you've been on. You've probably been on thousands, and you're taking that knowledge and you're breaking it down to a simple system that people can follow. And I'm big on systems. Right. So if you use a system or a blueprint that someone can actually come in and actually build their presentation off, build their whole thing off of, it's a win-win-win. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you just got to put yourself out there. 89 or 98% is showing up, right? I think.
Well, they also say 90% perspiration, 10% something like that. What is it?
The other way around.
Yeah. Anyway, it's you're absolutely right, and the key is the structure. The key is the preparation. I think it's preparation meets perspiration. I think it's 90% preparation and 10% or 90. Well, what 10%? Whatever the saying is. The bottom line is the 4-hour work week is just a myth. When I say that, it's a great book, and it was exciting to read. Oh my God, I can work only 4 hours a week, and I'm going to become a multimillionaire. And for some people, maybe they can do that. But we're talking about this industry now. Take a look at this guy right here. I got 63 years on this earth. And how old are you? What, 25, 30?
No, whatever. I'm 39.
Oh, really? Well,
I'm 39.
Well, you look pretty good for 39. Chris Record is how old? 29, 30?
He's like 37 or 38.
Oh my God. You know what? I guess it's these old man eyes, but it doesn't matter what age you are. Marie and I were talking about how technology is just improving so much. And these 23 years old, I think they had VideoCon the other day. That everything is just exploding and how exciting it's going to be. And I get to see that in my lifetime. But we were talking about, I can hang out with a 23-year-old, a 29-year-old, a 37-year-old, and I'm treated like a peer. So there is no real age barrier if you have the knowledge and you have the same things in common. Do you not agree with that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of guys in this industry that are 18 years old. There's a guy that's like 17 years old. He just graduated high school, making probably way more money than his parents are.
Ever. So. Yeah, you're right. And it's exciting. So we talked about hosting the webinar. We talked about getting people excited. We talked about having a good product. We talked about the replay and the encore. What do you do about follow-up? Do you, and let me just throw out a couple of things, and I'm going to let you run with it. Okay. Do you capture name, address? Do you capture phone numbers? Do you follow up by phone? What is it that you do to ensure repeat business?
Okay, so I've never done a high ticket. I've only done mid-ticket products. So mid-ticket meaning like $500 to $1,500, and usually with like a 3-pay option. So there's not a lot of phone calling. there might be on a support issue, like a support, someone that owns a product. There could be a phone call that is just to help them use the product. But for us, one of our vendors we've done over $100,000 with them with the Shopify app. And it's because we allowed them to turn it into evergreen. And
really?
And we're dabbling in the evergreen space because
explain it to everybody out there who what evergreen is.
Yeah, so evergreen it's constantly going. It's always open, even though it's not live. People have been banner blind nowadays. People are educated nowadays. They know that they're watching a replay. So we do it where the evergreen is actually, they know that it's a replay, but we'll tell them like, hey, we've got a replay up for a limited amount of days.
Right.
Come watch it. And one of our vendors is actually driving traffic. So they're actually driving traffic. They're getting traffic from like YouTube and Facebook, and they're doing SEO stuff. Right. They're actually driving organic traffic for people that are interested in that industry, and they're actually doing really, really well, and they want to 10x it. So it's definitely, evergreen is great. I mean, it actually, this business can be very spiky. Everybody always talks about how spiky this industry is. You have a launch. If it's successful, it does multiple six figures. And then they make a bunch of money. Everybody splits up the money. You make maybe $100,000, and you make it fast. I mean, you make the money fast.
And that money spends just as fast.
Yeah.
As you can make it.
All of a sudden, your girlfriend has a ring on her finger. Yeah. All of a sudden, she's got,
Well, I don't know about that ring on her finger yet, but she's talking in the $20,000 range. So I have to do a really successful webinar. Karl, this was a great chat. I so appreciate you coming on and doing this as part of the 50K webinar blueprint. It's an absolute privilege. Before we go ahead and wrap this up, you mentioned David Schloss. Let me just chat with you just about one quick second about that.
Okay.
Now, David Schloss is a guy that basically charges to, he's an expert in the field in driving traffic using Facebook ads. And he's very successful at doing that. And he does mostly high-end spending. When I say high-end spending, that's $5,000 a month that you have to spend on Facebook ads. What do you spend on a Facebook ad in order to make a successful webinar?
Probably anywhere from $20 a day. $20 a day or so. It just kind of depends. Just depends. $20 a day. It just really depends. I'm doing retargeting ads. I'm not actually doing targeting, but talking about David Schloss, he has a system where you need to have a minimum of 10,000 buyers of a certain product in a certain industry. And they have to be not 10,000 leads. It's probably more closer to 15,000, 20,000 leads. But you can actually take your leads and upload them into Facebook. And then Facebook will actually see who's actually that they can find in that list. And then you can actually target those people. But the secret is, and this is, I hope David doesn't get mad at me or anybody else, but I've learned this from other people. Basically what it does is you can do a lookalike audience. And when you have that much data on people, the world is your oyster. Right. So if you have that much data, if you have 10,000, so I could go to a guy myself that's in the industry and say like, how many leads do you have? Do you have 15,000 leads? Let me rent the information from you. Right. Or if you have a pixel, you can do it with a pixel too. Let me rent the pixel from you, because pixels only last 180 days. That's the longest they'll last on Facebook. Right. But a pixel is kind of like owning an email list, but with just buyers, people that constantly are going to come back and be hyperactive with your information. So then once you have that 10,000 person list on Facebook, Facebook will go out and build this lookalike audience of 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million people. And then they're going to have deep analytics on who those buyers are. Right. So, I mean, it's scientific. There's not it's stuff that I don't even understand. It's scientific. So they'll actually, they'll use an algorithm and send my message, my ads, and then I could play with different ad variations to see if I can get better conversions coming back to me. Now, that's complicated. That's a lot of stuff. Like, not anybody could just pick up Facebook and know it. That's why you have to hire a guy like David Schloss to do something like that for you, because that's all he does. You know,
it's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm hiring David Schloss to help me with my webinar business, because this is something new to me. And, you know, here's another thing too, you know, even though I've been surrounded by a lot of great people and I know a lot of people, I work for JV Zoo and it's an excellent company to work for, I still don't know enough, but I do know that outsourcing is the key. If there's something that you don't know, find somebody who does know and either learn from them or scale it up, as Chris would say, and 10x, as Chris and Grant Cardone and other people would say, and take it to that next level. And, you know, spending $5,000 or $10,000 a month with David Schloss, that's going to bring you in $100,000. It's a no-brainer. Do you not agree?
Yeah, absolutely agree. He, you know, that's what he specializes in, is loading up webinars from you know, Facebook ads and also high ticket stuff. That's what he specializes in, loading those up for events and stuff like that. So
Right.
I recommend, you know, if you find out what your strengths are and then you build off those strengths, things that you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in SEO. Maybe you're interested in Facebook ads. Maybe you're interested in building nice, clean websites and funnels. Maybe you're interested in doing e-commerce. You find that thing that you're passionate with, and then you do it. That's what you do, and you become the specialist. You know what I mean? So David is the specialist for Facebook ads, and there's a lot of guys out there. It's not just David. There's a few other people that I'm thinking about that actually do the same thing. But David is one of the guys. You know, Nicholas Kushimitz is another guy that's really big at it. You know, Gary Vaynerchuk, his whole business is built off of social media and social media ads. I mean, and he's
you know, and now Gary Vaynerchuk is a guy that, you know, he can't go 3 words without swearing, and yet people love him, and I don't understand it. I was in San Diego, and all of a sudden people started gathering at the pool because somebody sent out an SMS or something that Gary Vaynerchuk was going to be there at the pool, and like a rock star, throngs of people just surrounded him, you know, just to
people
touch him. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember EBR said he posted on Facebook, and it was funny because he said, let's start a drinking game. Every time Gary cusses, we have to drink.
Right. Yeah, we have to do a shot. You know, EBR is E. Brian Rose, who is the founder of JV Zoo, and he's also my mentor and as well as my great friend. So, Karl, thanks very much. It was just an awesome interview. I really and thoroughly enjoy you, and I enjoy talking to you, and I also enjoyed the little bit of money that you and Chase sent me today. So webinars are a great thing. I just wanted to thank you very much for coming on today and let you know that you are appreciated, and I know we'll run into each other again, and I look forward to it.
Thank you, Rich. Always a pleasure, you know, hanging out with you, and the friendship is mutual. Everything's completely mutual, and, you know, thanks for allowing me to be on here and speak to your people. I've had fun.
Thank you very much. And I'm telling you, you know, it's going to be awesome. And for those of you who are watching this through the website, richwilens.com, and of course, everythingwebinars.com and 50kwebinarblueprint.com, on behalf of me and Karl and everybody else, I want to thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you sometime at an event, at a hangout, anywhere. You can always get a hold of me at rich@richwilens.com. Thank you so much for coming by, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening. So long, everybody.